fucking nigga.
Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves now there, Sal Marcano. As you can tell, we are going to be reviewing the Mafia trilogy today. The particular versions of the games that I'm going to be reviewing are Mafia Definitive Edition, Mafia 2 Definitive Edition, and Mafia 3 Definitive Edition. Now, the Definitive Edition is important because, well, Mafia 1 looked like this.
We almost got killed because of those stupid cigars.
Oh, come on, Sam. Smoking doesn't kill you. What on earth is a cigar gonna do to your lungs? Nothing at all.
This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs.
So what have we learned about dealing drugs, boys? Okay, seriously though, I think I should get on to reviewing these masterpieces. Alright, so we all know the story about Grand Theft Auto 3, but I'm going to tell it to you again like we're in Miss Frizzle's kindergarten class reading a storytime book. So back in 2001, when gaming was still kind of irrelevant and viewed as something that only nerds did, this really controversial game released called GTA 3. What did GTA 3 do so differently from other games? Well, for one, it lets you shoot innocent civilians and run over hookers with ice cream trucks all on your living room TV. But also, it told a story, something sort of seen before by this point in the gaming era with Nintendo's absolute masterpiece that is Ocarina of Time, but also not really done in this format. GTA 3 was the first ever instance of a movie being brought into the world of gaming. Nowadays, you see it all the time with cinematic masterpieces like Red Dead Redemption 2 or God of War, but GTA 3 really started this trend. And of course, with it being such a hit game, and with the cost of making video games being like a third of whatever the fuck it is now, a lot of companies hopped on the train and straight up copied GTA, Mafia being one of those games. I'm not here to argue whether Mafia did it better than GTA 3 or not. I'm simply here to review the gameplay mechanics and masterfully written stories of Mafia and its sequels. Except, fuck all that, because we're not covering the original Mafia. In 2020, the game was fully remade with what you can see here are absolutely beautiful modern-day graphics, and the gameplay was revitalized, giving the game a whole new feel from the original 2002 counterpart. So, that being said, let's finally get into the review so I can attempt to make this video under 30 minutes long. The game starts out like a classic Mafia story. Guy looking for cash joins in on the drug trade. Wonder who that could remind us of. Right off the bat, we jump into the action with a police chase. Two random Mafia fellows who we later learn are named Sam and Paulie are on the run from some cops, and us, being an underpaid taxi driver, decide to help them out on the run by boldly crossing a bridge. In this beginning chase section alone, we're greeted to what is a very vibrant and realistic version of a small 1930s city. The atmosphere is set very early on, giving leeway to what we're going to experience throughout the game. And you can tell just from this opening section how much inspiration this game takes from classic Mafia stories, such as The Godfather, Goodfellas, The Sopranos, or literally any Martin Scorsese movie that you can name. Anyways, what sets this apart from something like GTA is that there is no humongous wasteland of open world bullshit for you to explore and gather collectibles. It's very obvious that this game has a story to tell, and it sticks true to it all the way with its mission-based structure. And that's by no means a bad thing. I hate playing games and not being able to progress because I didn't level up the right skill on my skill tree, or because I didn't equip a good enough gun for a particular mission. This is simple, mission-structured gameplay that shines in its story. Oh yeah, and the driving is good in the worst way possible. I mean, it really feels like a 1930s vehicle, because I would definitely know what it feels like to drive one of those. There are plenty of great shootout sections to make up for the terrible driving, thank God, and every shootout in this game feels strategic. Enemies are placed in particular areas because you're meant to maneuver your way around them and take them out, using the territory around you to evade attacks as well. It adds a really realistic feeling to the gameplay. But like I said, the story is where it's at with this game. After our chase in the cab, we make good friends with Paulie and Sam. After that, we take it a step further and decide to become part of the family. We even get the honors of meeting the Don. He's exactly what you would picture as a Mafia boss. Big, calm and collective, respectful guy with a dark side to him. And just like that, we go from basic cabbie to a loyal member of the Salieri family. We're making bank for like a year or so. Then we go on a collecting job with Paulie and Sam. The job goes sideways, causing Paulie to get shot and Sam gets his ass beat. This ignites the spark for a gang war with our rival family, the Morellos. We even get involved with a lady friend named Sarah. While walking her home, some guys try to hit on her, so we hit on them. Yeah, we totally beat their asses. We also spend the night with Sarah, but I'll remind you that this isn't Grand Theft Auto, so she doesn't undress, unfortunately. Instead, she falls asleep on our shoulder, and we clearly have something going on with her by this point. The next day, Salieri finds out about these fellas who we fought, and he sends us to, well,
I wanna fucking die, man.
Christ, Tom. You can't feel sorry for these animals. A guy like this would plug you if you give him the chance. You gotta pull the trigger without thinking. Guess I'm out. This one's finished too.
yeah, all I'm going to say is that one was not finished too. Things from here get a little more complicated. Even though one of those guys was capped, according to Salieri, we made the mistake of not putting 2 in the head. This is how we find out one of the guys lived, meaning we gotta cap him again. Where do we do that, you might ask? We do it at the funeral of the other guy that we fucking killed. Yeah, Salieri sends us to a guy's funeral and turns it into a hit job. The one place where you would think there'd be peace. Nope. We're slipping through pews and tossing lead in a chapel while mourners duck for cover. Real respectful stuff. This mission sets the tone. No loose ends. Salieri's code is simple. If they breathe, they can talk. And if they can talk, then they're a danger to the family. Tommy learns quick that the loyalty he's been pledging comes with a lot more blood than it does honor. From here, it's all-out war. The Morellos are out for blood, and Salieri wants to send a message. You're torching bars, chasing mobsters across rooftops, planting bombs in cars, all while wearing your Sunday best. Every mission gets more intense, and the stakes keep on climbing. There's even this one absolutely nuts mission where you have to tail Don Morello himself to a courthouse. Then you wait for him to leave, and then you ambush him on a bridge with a Tommy gun while he's in a moving car. It's something straight out of the fucking Untouchables. And it's one of those moments where you kind of feel coordinated. Well, it doesn't quite end there. Basically, Morello tries to flee the country in a plane, so we chase the fucking plane and kill him. We shoot the plane out of the fucking air, wait for him to crash, and then we cap him. So, Morello finally got what's coming. The little gang war is over, right? No. With Morello out of the picture, things settle down just a little bit. The Salieris are running the city, and we even have a healthy relationship going on with Sarah. Everything's perfect. Until it's not. We keep on doing different jobs to dispose of rats and guys who might talk to the police or whatever. Then the tipping point comes with the bank job. The last score. Or as Dutch Vanderlyn might say, the last bank job. Nobody's gonna die this time. So, Paulie and Tommy decide to hit up a bank to get enough money to get the fuck away from the life of looking under their cars for bombs every morning. Let me just say, if you've seen Goodfellas, you know exactly how this game ends. Turns out, Sam was a little more loyal to Salieri than he was to us. We go to get our share of the money from Paulie, and he's fucking dead. Our own brother laying on the ground, dead, with a bullet in his head. The game puts you through this whole mental process about how it was bound to happen and whatnot. I mean, hell, this life, it's just asking for it, isn't it? All that honor you were upholding for Salieri, it was all worth nothing. You were just a pawn in a bigger game. Then we get a call from Sam. He tells us to meet him. We go, and it isn't good. Sam is waiting for us with a bunch of other guys from the family. They've got guns on us and everything. Turns out, Sam was spilling all the things we were doing behind Salieri's back, like leaving one of his former guys alive, even though he was a rat. And it plays out about how you'd expect it to. A really beautiful cinematic shootout section with brother against brother. And ultimately, we are the last ones to pull the trigger. But it doesn't quite end there. Tommy is doing what he can to out Salieri to the feds. Takes him to court and everything. There's no other way, is there? So, we do it. We pull off busting an entire Mafia family. After the fact, we live with Sarah and raise a family. It's such a shame that things had to turn out the way they did, because ultimately, some random guys that we are never going to see again come and cap Tommy in his front yard. Don't know who they are. Probably irrelevant.
Salieri sends his regards.
It's poetic in the worst way possible. Tommy spent his life trying to escape that world, and in the end, it still caught up to him. It's a great story about betrayal, trust, loyalty. That one's something my ex didn't quite have. But seriously, it's a story that makes you think. It's about crime, for goodness sake. What is crime all about? Choices. Mafia Definitive Edition doesn't glorify the life of crime. It tempts you with it, sure. The money, the suits, the power, the brotherhood, it all looks good. But under the surface, it's built on fear, silence, and the constant pressure of knowing that one wrong move could be your last. Tommy Angelo is a man who chooses loyalty over law, then chooses love over loyalty. And no matter what he chooses, it costs him everything. That's the beauty of this game's story. It's not about a rise to power. It's about what you sacrifice on the way up, and whether it was ever worth it. The moment you step into that cab at the beginning, you're already on a one-way street. And no matter how hard Tommy tries to steer it differently, that car is only going in one direction.
You are Greco the doctor? No, I'm the fucking painter.
And just like that, we move on to Mafia 2. A story where subtlety gets thrown out the window and replaced with gunshots, F-bombs, N-words, and some fat bastard who looks like he hasn't slept since Prohibition ended. Mafia 1 is all about restraint and tradition. Mafia 2 pulls a full-on fucking GTA-style gameplay loop where you shoot a bunch of guys and everything is sarcastically humorous. It throws you in the backseat bleeding while your childhood friend swerves through Empire Bay traffic like he's in a fucking NASCAR race. Because in this story, survival comes first, which is why the story is all about taking down this big-ass mafia empire. Vito Scaletta isn't trying to escape the life like Tommy Angelo was. He's trying to make it work and make it mean something to him. Tommy wanted out. Vito wants all in, because in his world, crime isn't a last resort. It is quite literally his only option. Now, I'm going to be real. A lot of people prefer Mafia 2 for the reason that it kind of throws the story out the window a little bit. Don't get me wrong, Mafia 2 still has an amazing story. But compared to Mafia 1, Mafia 2 is a lot more action-based than it is character development-based and stuff like that. That doesn't by any means make Mafia 2 a bad game. It just kind of means that if you're more into, deep stories that'll change your life and stuff, like, I don't know, Red Dead 2 or something, then Mafia 2 isn't for you. Like I said, it's more of a GTA style of story where everything is satirical, but there's also badassery when there needs to be. It's a greatly written game that I'm well overdue for a replay of, but other than that, it's just a bit on the average side. There are so many bugs and graphical errors to complain about that I'm not quite sure whether to take the game seriously at some points. I mean, yeah, it's a solid game, but it definitely has its flaws. So did Mafia 1, don't get me wrong, but I feel like Mafia 2 does a lot more so than the first game. It feels like Mafia, but written by teenagers. More close to the likes of GTA Vice City or something than a rebranded Godfather like the original game was. This is evident from the beginning whenever we meet the main cast, Joe and Vito. They're just idiot kids up to no good when Vito gets himself caught and goes into the army to avoid prison. When he comes back, he doesn't plan on staying until Joe makes a few arrangements and tell him, you know, I know a guy. So then Vito's future is rewritten. Instead of going back to the army, he kills a few guys and loads up a fucking revolver. Yet right from the start, Vito and Joe are more like a chaotic duo in some crime movie than these, soldiers of a crime-hardened family. They're drinking booze, flirting, having sex, breaking kneecaps like it's all one big game. And to them, it kind of is. To us, too, because we're playing the fucking game. But anyways, that's what makes it fun in the long run. But that's also what makes it dangerous. Yeah, Mafia 2 isn't necessarily the profound morality tale that Mafia 1 was. It's a lot louder, dumber, and funnier. And if you're, like I said, more into GTA or something, that can be a good thing. But for me, it makes the game feel kind of shallow in comparison to the first one. The world of Empire Bay looks great and all, but there's nothing there on a deeper level to engage you in the characters. Still, what keeps it alive is the energy. The characters are lovable fucking idiots. The pacing is really fast. If only they could have had more nods to the first game like that and a more furnished story, then Mafia 2 really could have been an even better follow-up to the already great original game. And even if you do prefer this game over the first one, you can't ignore the amount of bugs. I'm not sure how it is on PC, but as a console player, there were so many points where I had to reboot the fucking game because a mission wasn't working properly. I mean, hell, even cutscenes bug out. The cinematic clips that are pre-designed as part of the game whenever you make progression. Anyways, that's enough about Mafia 2. If you're more into story games, I wouldn't necessarily recommend Mafia 2, and I would definitely never choose it over Mafia 1, but now we're going to move on to the most controversial game in the franchise for a multitude of reasons. Yeah, so if you haven't played Mafia 3, then I don't really know whether to recommend it or not. Personally, I love the game, because it's a very realistic depiction of 1960s era racial violence. But that's also a lot of people's downfall for the game, as well as a lot of other reasons. See, the first two Mafia games have mostly secluded worlds and thrive based on their stories. I never saw that as a bad thing, but it does get kind of boring driving around the maps with every building looking exactly the same. Mafia 3, on the other hand, came out at a time where open-world games were thriving. The Witcher 3 had just released the year prior, and GTA 5 was and still is the best-selling game of all time, only releasing 3 years before Mafia 3. So Mafia 3 took a gamble, in proper Mafia fashion, of course, and threw the game into an open-world sandbox style that focuses a lot more on gameplay than story. Even so, it still delivers an absolutely amazingly written story. Now, say what you want to about Mafia 3, but I personally love this game. I guess the flaws consist in the gameplay, so we'll start there. From the first mission in the game, you're practically doing the same thing over and over again. As I stated with Mafia 2, there are a lot of memorable missions and set pieces, etc., but Mafia 3 missions all feel the exact same with a twist on the story every now and then. What I will give this game in terms of gameplay is that the stealth feels absolutely amazing. Mafia 1 and 2 had stealth, but they weren't necessarily utilized apart from maybe 1 or 2 missions where you were required to use it. And on top of that, the stealth in those games were fucking terrible. Mafia 3 takes a different approach and makes the stealth absolutely OP, giving the player more creative freedom in their gameplay style. It kind of reminds me of a Far Cry game, but without all the unnecessary RPG elements that drag those down, but that's a conversation for another video. The gunplay isn't terrible either, and I also like the variety you have in your guns. In terms of gameplay, I'd argue Mafia 3 really does beat the first two. You can use that argument that, sure, it's the exact same thing over and over again, But so is every fucking Fortnite match that you play, so I don't want to hear it. Using the argument that every mission feels the same immediately discredits any multiplayer games you consider good, because playing those is equivalent to paying $60 to play the exact same thing over and over again. Every Call of Duty in the past 10 years has been the exact same fucking thing.
Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
Now, I suppose it's time we move on to the Mafia 3 story. Mind you, this game takes place in what is essentially a fictional version of 1960s Louisiana. And if you paid attention in your civics class, then you'd know that some guy in Louisiana had a dream and he never fucking woke up from it. Yeah, Mafia 3 takes a huge gamble again and makes the game's story all about racism. You play as Lincoln Clay, a mixed-race Vietnam veteran who comes back to New Bordeaux, which is essentially, like I said, off-brand New Orleans, after years of serving his country. And how does his country thank him? By continuing to be fucking racist. Lincoln's first real mission is trying to settle back into life with his adoptive family, the black mob run by Sammy Robinson and his son, Ellis. They're good people, but they're struggling to keep their turf from being swallowed by this Italian mob guy named Sal Marcano, who runs a white supremacist mob. Sal acts like he's extending an olive branch, like, hey, why don't we pull off a bank heist together? We can split the money and everything. Maybe have some pizza afterwards.
What kind of pizza do you like, Jesse? Jesse, what kind of pizza? Pineapple.
Yeah, well, Sal Marcano must not have been a huge fan of pineapple pizza either, because he kind of betrays Lincoln by killing his father figure and burns Lincoln alive. Now, let me repeat that. Lincoln gets shot in the head, and his house gets set on fire, and he somehow survives. That motherfucker has more plot armor than fucking Batman himself. No. Even more plot armor than fucking Luffy or Naruto. This motherfucker gets saved by a local priest that he's really close with named Father James. Again, this guy has more moral conflict than fucking Batman or Daredevil, who is a Catholic, for Christ's sake. And Lincoln is like, I bet. Let's dismantle an entire crime empire from the inside out. And then that's where the game really begins. You don't just go after Sal Marcano directly. No. You pick apart his entire operation by going after fucking KKK members, his fucking family, who is also racist as hell. You take over his businesses, and you practically build your own empire in the process. Because nothing says healing from trauma like starting your own organized crime syndicate. The story is told documentary style, which is honestly one of the coolest parts about the story. You've got FBI agents and Father James narrating over old footage, talking about Lincoln like he's some mythical force of nature. It's this Ken Burns style true crime retelling, except way more violent and with a better soundtrack. Oh, speaking of the soundtrack, this game fucking slaps with the soundtrack. You've got Rolling Stones, CCR, Hendrix. If you do not vibe with this kind of fucking music, your soul is probably under fucking warranty. I'd drive around New Bordeaux for 30 minutes doing absolutely nothing just to hear Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones kick in during a fucking thunderstorm. Literal goosebumps. Anyway. You start knocking off Sal's rackets, district by district. Each area you take over can be handed off to one of your three underbosses. Cassandra, a black mob boss with a vendetta. Burke, a drunk Irish guy with a truck and anger issues. And Vito Scaletta. Yes, that Vito from Mafia 2. Back. He's older, saltier, and he is tired of everyone's bullshit, including Sal Marcano's. But here's where things get spicy. You can play nice and divide everything up evenly, or you can go fucking insane and betray your own people for maximum power. You want to hand everything over to Vito and screw the other two? Go for it. Want to trigger a dramatic betrayal scene where Burke cusses you out like a fucking Irish Gordon Ramsay? That's your call, boss. Now, the controversial part of the game is that, unlike every game ever, Mafia 3 doesn't force you into this whole spew about making you feel mercy for the people you're killing. You're meant to be a fucking lunatic, and it is satisfying down to the last minute of the game. Speaking of the end of the game, they brought back Leo and Joe from Mafia 2 as well. I mean, how old is Leo now? He looked fucking 80 in Mafia 2, so by the time MLK was having dreams, that guy had to have been pushing 100. Before that happens, though, you finally do reach Sal Marcano after brutally murdering his entire family, including his underage son. Anyways, you have three options. You either throw a bullet in his face, let him shoot himself, or you walk the hell away. After Sal is dead, you've got even more options to choose from. Do you want to leave town and forget about all the racist assholes you just killed? Or do you want to continue to build your crime empire off of everything that Sal Marcano just did? Only with a more refined approach, without the KKK rallies. I think leaving provides for some better dialogue at the end. You also get the option to let Vito control everything. Yet again, expanding on the previous main character's story and finally giving them a proper ending whilst expanding on the current character's development as well. Mafia 3 is not a perfect game, but what it is brave. It does what most AAA games wouldn't dare. It tells a raw and politically based story about racism, trauma, war, and revenge, with a main character who doesn't fit the usual stereotype. It's a game where your shotgun speaks a hell of a lot louder than your words, and your choices echo through the streets of New Bordeaux. Sure, you'll do the same stealth kill 10,000 times, and yeah, some of the side content feels like a checklist, but the story, the atmosphere, the message, holy hell, that shit is all unforgettable. You can say what you want about Mafia 3, but at the end of the day, this game had something to say, and I sure as hell listened. So overall, the whole trilogy has its ups and downs, but as a whole, I'd say all three games are pretty solid. The closest to a masterpiece is probably the first one despite its simple gameplay structure, but all three games are comfort games for me. Mafia 1 is one of the first story games I ever played, and it was a perfect introduction to the idea of games having stories to tell. Just like mob movies that I absolutely love, Mafia 1 is a story about brotherhood and betrayal. Mafia 2 scratches that GTA itch, and Mafia 3 is a really poetic story that even though I can't necessarily relate to as a white person, I still think it does a great job at conveying its message. I absolutely cannot wait to play Mafia: The Old Country when it releases in a month or so. The gameplay and story trailers look fantastic, and I can't help but think it's going to be the best of the franchise. If you want more review content like this, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. I don't make content for views or anything. I only do it because I have way too much free time on my hands, and it's generally just fun to express my opinion on things, but it always gives me a confidence boost knowing that someone out there watched and enjoyed the content that I put out. That being said, this is Game World Master, signing out.